Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I'm your host, Chris Crenshaw, and we are live from the 336 once again for episode 185. That's nice three numbers there of the 815 exchange. And yeah, I um I mean it was a good week for me. On this channel. It was an electrifying week on this channel. It was a great week. All right, y'all went crazy. All right, as always, remember to like, share, and subscribe if you guys enjoying the content. And as always, everything you're looking for can be found in the description. So, timestamp should be also embedded in the video, as well as my social media. This is a very good week for me. From a professional content creation, standpoint. But man, UFC 298 was hurtful. College basketball was a little bit better. Of course, we got to talk about the great Caitlin Clark, or the not great, according to Jay Williams. We'll get to that. NBA, hell, even had a Dallas Cowboy win something. But the All-Star game was the All-Star game, and I also finished Ted Lasso. So, we do have some things that they're happy, to talk about. We also have some down things. But you know what? Episode 185 probably should have been a special episode, considering this is one of the few times I get to kind of mash up all those numbers, and it's not episode 815, which is a very, very, very long time from now. But yeah, we are here, and we are starting off with the fight game. But of course, the fight game is not boxing this week, it's the UFC. We had UFC 298 this week, and oh boy, this is really much of my sadness. Is, ladies and gentlemen, I was wrong. I was wrong. A lot of us were wrong. But you know what? Unfortunately, Volk has hit that magical 35 years of age, and something about that 35 just it nosedives all of our legends. It is truly the end of an era, as, ladies and gentlemen, Alexander Volkanovski has been knocked off his throne as the king at featherweight. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a new king at 145, and his name is Ilia Topuria. Oh my goodness. Ilia, and Volk wasn't even doing bad, man. He wasn't even doing bad, but just Islam might have left. It appears he might have left some part of him in those Islam fights. I feel like Volk might have left a piece of him, and it all caught up to him on Saturday night as Ilia gets the KO, got Volk against the fence. And, we all know Ilia has power. It's not a secret. We knew that going into this fight. He landed that perfect right hand and sat Volk down. Put him down. He was down for a while. And, yeah, it was hard. All right, it was hard, but, congratulations, like I said, to Ilia. Well-deserved. Well-deserved. He's had a hell of a run. Honestly, I think it was a very similar run in some ways to McGregor's run to the top of featherweight, without, of course, the press and the hype. But Ilia called a shot. He's been taking the title in the whole build-up. He said he was the real featherweight champ. He was taking Volk's title in the build-up in the press conferences and said that it was his. On Saturday night, he went out and proved that it was his. So, yeah, congratulations to Ilia. Man, 145 just got a lot more interesting, man. With Volk getting knocked off like that, I think that opens up that division incredibly. I think Volk does deserve that rematch, but I think it also, at the same time, it could just be, like we saw with Usman, like we saw with, Izzy. They're still very competitive, and I guess we're still to see with Izzy. But I don't know if they're, it seems like that era has come and passed. It was a great era for the UFC, but I think this really kind of signals we're nearing the end. All right, we're nearing the end of that kind of run of legends that we had that had those long runs, and it's time for that next generation. And Ilia could very well be one of those, top guys in this next generation. So yeah, congratulations again. The co-main event in this absolutely stacked card. All right, it was this should have been the UFC 300 card, honestly. Rob Whittaker. Let's call him. I was a little bit concerned. I didn't make a pick on this one, right? Because I was like, man, it's a little bit too close between him and Costa. But Rob said, it's cool. It's cool. Oh, hey, Och, we good. We good. And Rob went out there, did what had to be done. It was a very, very good fight. A very good fight against Paulo. Rob, however, does get the UD. Just simply outworked him. Paulo had his moments. Of course, he rocked him, I think, in, was it round one? Rocked each other, actually. But yeah, Paulo, of course, he always brings the fire, and he always brings the fight. He always has a very, I mean, Paulo Costa, regardless of what we can say about the juicing allegations and the humor and just all the missed weight, all the stuff that comes with Paulo Costa over the past couple of years. And throughout his career, he has been one of the pound for pound most entertaining. And once again, he entertained in this fight, which honestly the crowd needed after the third fight I'm about to talk about, Ian Gary and GF Neal, was not great. It was not great. All right, Gary got the split decision, and I'm cool with that. I think Gary deserved Machado. He got the win. Whatever. He needed this win, by the way, with all of the his wife, who got her own seat, by the way, was very nice of the UFC to do. But yeah, it wasn't a great fight. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna talk too much about it because y'all would probably rather me not talk too much about it. Gary, of course, is technically better, but it didn't particularly work Neal in a way that was just like convincing, which obviously, resulted in the split decision. But, Ian gets the win. He moves on. Hopefully we get a better fight next for him. Oh my dear God. Merab is a monster. Like actually a monster. Like for real. Like no jokes. Nah, no. This man is a monster. We have seen some cardio machines. I mean, Colby Covington, and especially recent year, Colby, Max. I mean, we've seen some guys that seem to not get tired. I'm not even just talking about like zombies. People that don't get tired, it seems. Merab has the best gas tank I have ever seen. In all of my years of watching MMA across he has the best. And it's crazy. I don't know if it's, in being Georgian and, the mountains. I don't know if that's it or what it is. But the man does not get tired. Went in there against Henry Cejudo, one of the greatest to ever do it. Especially at 135 and, of course, 125. One of the best to do it. Future Hall of Famer, of course, Triple C. And went out there and dominated. Not even Henry necessarily looked bad. It just Merab looked like he was on that elite level. And of course, like we said, he just doesn't get tired. And Henry has lost. He's still a good fighter, right? Even though he's retired after this fight. He hadn't he wasn't washed necessarily. But Merab was relentless. He is relentless. That is the greatest thing I can say about Merab, is that he is absolutely relentless. And it has been a problem for everybody. I mean, everybody in that division. So, of course, we got Sean versus Cheeto. I think that's UFC 299. So that actually might be the next event. So, good luck to the winner. All right, good luck to the winner because Merab is a problem. All right, and boy, oh boy. I mean, if it's, Cejudo, Henry goes out with honor. All right, and there's no shame, honestly, in losing to Merab at this stage because he looks like he might be a potential champ because the boy doesn't get tired. The rest of this card was also very good still. Anthony Hernandez, the other main fight that we didn't talk about, he subbed Koilev in a little bit of an upset there. Got the sub. Pretty cool moment, though. He had the choke in. He was smiling. He was grinning because he just knew. He knew he had him. So, yeah, congratulations to Hernandez. Ends that hype train. Mackenzie Dern is a very, very beautiful woman with a great body, but she does not have great striking. And that is more of an issue in terms of, when we're actually in the octagon. And that was a little bit of a problem for her against Amanda Lemos because Lemos cooked her inside that octagon, regardless of how good Dern looked. And yeah, De Lima took on the other brother and got rid of him too. So congratulations to him. The other striking news from this week in the UFC, of course, was the announcement, finally, of the UFC 300 card. And to quote the great Roman Reigns, Jamal Hill, exactly, no pop. Yep, Jamal Hill, all due respect, former champion, is your main event of UFC 300. Exactly. No pop. None at all. No excitement. No woo. No. Yes, Jamal Hill is the main eventing a 100 card for the UFC. How did Dana fumble this? I mean, how did he fumble this? Alex, I'm a Poton. I'm cool with it. I'm cool with it. Fine, sure. Jamal Hill, though? Jamal Hill? Not saying he don't deserve a title shot, but as he's not a star. You gotta have like a superstar or like one, It is what it is, though. I think they kind of put themselves in a hole because of, how stacked the cards are around UFC 300, like 298 we just saw. Hell, 299 is even looking better than 300, so we'll see. But yeah, Alex and Potan and Jamal Hill is your UFC 300 main event. Exactly. No pop. College basketball, baby. College basketball, CBB. And of course, we're going to talk about the Caitlin show. But before we get to the Caitlin show, let's talk about Purdue. Yes, the number one team in the land. They've been number one for... Actually, they're not number one right now. We're going to talk about the number one team, though. Purdue has been very close. Top three pretty much the entire year. Of course, they have the likely National Player of the Year for a second year in a row in Zach Edey, who has now played himself into a lottery pick. So congratulations to Zach. But boy, oh boy, was it not his night yesterday. Ohio State gets the upset, 73-69. Bruce Thornton had 22. Zed Key had a massive steal with 1 minute to go in the game. On Zach Edey to really put this game in Ohio State's favor. Of course, they made those free throws that are also important, and they got it done against the Boilermakers. Again, Purdue is an elite team. Don't get me wrong, but boy, oh boy, it just feels very similar to how it felt pretty much the entire Zach Edey era, even back when they had Jaden Ivey. They are not unbeatable. They're very good. They're in this weird spot where it's like they're an elite team. You feel like they should be a championship contender, and they are technically, but something just feels missing, and it always feels like Purdue is on the verge of getting upset as we get closer to March. Like the red, like the siren is starting to ring, and it just gets louder and louder and louder as we get closer to March with Purdue. But yeah, Edey had 22 and 13, which of course, National Player of the Year stuff. But that's still from Key. Also important. Ohio State is up right now in terms of basketball. Congratulations to them. That women's team has a big matchup, by the way. Last game of the season probably determines the Big Ten regular season title against Iowa. And of course, like I said, we're going to talk about Caitlin. But yeah, for now, Ohio State is up. They up right now. Across all sports, honestly. The number one team in the country, though, is pretty much should be unanimous at this point, is the reigning defending champions. It's UConn. It is UConn. It was a great week for UConn basketball. First off, because they played number 4 Marquette, one of the best teams in the country, and they beat them, and I quote, 81-53. It was a demolishing, an execution in public. The Huskies destroyed Marquette. It wasn't close. Hurley, I don't know what type of, serum he gave this team, but they have been on a different wave for the past 2 years. All right. Last year is not looking like it was just a chaotic fluke. It's looking like UConn, and it feels very weird to say now that they're back after they won the national championship last year. But boy, oh boy, oh boy, does it feel like UConn men's basketball is back in full effect. In full effect. Klingon had 17 and 10 in this game. Tristan Newton has been the glue. The glue. One of the most underrated players, in my opinion, in the entire country. He had 15, 8, and 8. He fills up the stat sheet in a way that just appeases me so very well. But this is a very dangerous UConn team. Once again, they are the number one team for a reason. Do not be sleep and do not think just because, men's basketball is down that, this is like a light number one. No, they very well could repeat, and they're looking very, very dangerous as we get closer and closer to that time. I said it was a great week for UConn basketball because not just they have the number one team in the country on the men's side, but of course they have one of the best players in the country, one of the true superstars of the game currently on the women's side. And ladies and gentlemen, Paige Bueckers is coming back for a 5th year. All right, the first of the superstars of that elite class of 2020 that we thought might be going into the draft this year to declare for a 5th year. I think of any of them. I think Brink is pretty much gone. Angel, we'll see. Likely gone, but we'll see. Caitlin, I'm pretty certain, is gone. But if any of them I thought was, potentially going to stay, I could see Paige. It makes sense, She's not going number 1 in this draft. She could go number 1 next year. And she lost, She lost some years of development because of the 2 back-to-back season-ending injuries. So her feeling like she has unfinished business in stores makes a lot of sense. So, yeah, Paige going back for another senior year, she says. She's going back for year 5. That is huge for UConn, by the way, next year. If they can stay healthy as a team, they could be a very, very dangerous, very, very dangerous. And we could see a return to form for one Paige Bueckers. Not that she hasn't, returned to form, this year. But with Caitlin potentially gone, the spotlight might fall once again back on the former number 1 player in the country who won, by the way, National Player of the Year as a freshman. Even though she was co-freshman of the year with Caitlin, which is kind of weird. But nonetheless, Paige is coming back. Let's talk about Miss Clark, shall we? Let's talk about Miss Caitlin Clark. Michigan has to be sick. I mean, there is no team in the country that is going to be more happy to see Caitlin Clark graduate and likely leave to the WNBA than the Michigan Wolverines. I mean, what can somebody tell me what her averages, by the way, against Michigan are? Because it has to be close to 40 a game. Because it's absurd what she does to Michigan. She just loves playing them. All right. She needed 8 points. 8. Right? She could have just had her average game, right? Which is 38-7. Right? She could have had that great game. We'd have been fine, right? No. She had to score the first 8 points of the game for Iowa and then going to score a career high and really likely could have got 50. She had 49-13, hit 9 threes. And hell, she picked the perfect shot, by the way. In her own words, of course, she said, of course I was going to do it. She shot from damn near the logo to break the record in thrilling fashion. But yeah, Caitlin the Butcher back. After one game, she had a little bit of an off game against Maryland. Well, not Maryland, but Nebraska. Didn't look too great in that fourth quarter. She came back with a vengeance against Michigan and looked very much so like the Caitlin Clark we all know and love. Yeah. She has a different type of motion, as we've all been saying. She's a different type of player. She's a different species. She is the number one player in the country. She is the number one player, pound for pound, man or woman, in the sport. She's the biggest star in the sport. I'd even go as far as saying she's box office for a reason. She's that girl. All right, she is that girl. Simply put, she is that girl. And of course, Jay Williams, who I've not been a very big fan of, even though he is a Duke alum, even though he doesn't really like to claim that nowadays. And he really hasn't had a good take in a very long time, if we're being honest. Had the choice to come out of his mouth and say that Caitlin Clark is not great. Said that it's the Mamba. It's the Mamba and his teachings that Caitlin Clark is not great because she hasn't won a championship. So, Dan Marino, former all-time leader in passing yards, I guess I can't say the great Dan Marino. Dan Marino is not great. All of these past stars we've seen in all these sports that haven't won championships are not great, right? They're not great. Caitlin Clark, who very visibly is the best player in the country, is going to be the all-time leading scorer, probably regardless of anybody in the NCAA. She's probably going to pass Pete. Is not great. The player that has transcended the game, brought more attention to the women's game, with all due respect to the people that come before her and helped pave that way. But the person that blew that glass ceiling off and has brought the respect that women's basketball deserves, has brought the attention, is not great. A future Hall of Famer in this sport is not great. She chose to go to Iowa. She chose to stay home and play for Lisa Blutter in Iowa and not go to UConn or South Carolina or one of these teams stacked to shit with great talent where she could have won a national championship. But because she stayed home and helped build a program, she is not great. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? How in the hell is Caitlin Clark not great? She's the definition of great. She might not win a championship. So what? So what? Who is, to put this in modern terms, like I said earlier, who is the last women's player that's had this much motion, had this much attention, who's had garnered this respect? Nobody. Nobody. Not in this modern era. There's been great legendary players before. I'm not even going to say Caitlin's the GOAT. You can argue she's not the GOAT. But to say she's not great, after everything she's done for the game, after everything we're seeing with our own eyes, that's crazy. It's crazy. Now going from the number one player in the country to, depending on how you feel about Hannah Hidalgo, the number one freshman in the country, Juju Watkins, has been on a heater. She was scorching hot going into this game. Honestly, the team they played in this game, Oregon State, was also scorching hot. They'd won, 3 straight ranked games, by the way, in a row. 2 of them against top 10 teams. scorching hot Oregon State was going into this game. And I don't know what it is about Oregon State's defense, but Juju has not figured them out. And despite the fact that she was averaging like a 30 ball for the past week, she did not have a great game this game. All right, I was very prepared to be like, man, Juju is playing out of her mind ever since we were like, yo, Hannah might have caught her. Then all of a sudden, Juju just went to a different level. But yeah, 6 for 32 is not pretty. All right, it is not great. It is horrifically inefficient. But they did get the win 58-50. Of course, Juju had 18 and 11. 6 for 32, like I said, is not great. Gardner had 22 for Oregon State, but it was not enough. USC gets a huge, much-needed win. They are on fire as a team, of course. A lot of that due to Juju. She's averaging 28 as a freshman. A lot of people were like, yo, because, I think Dawn Staley came out and said Caitlin's record isn't going to be able to beat. And a lot of people were like, yo, what about Juju? And she's doing very well. And, of course, she has probably the only player in the country that currently has a green light similar to the one that Caitlin has. Of course, the only difference is that Caitlin Clark is the best player in the country and is much more. It's actually very, very efficient. Despite the 20, high 20s, dirty shots a game, she is extremely efficient. Extremely so. All right, disturbingly efficient, actually. And Juju is still trying to figure that part of the game, of course. 4-year, 1 year, so of course there's a lapse in development there, but not saying Juju can't get it, but that's going to be very difficult, even though she's playing phenomenal for a freshman, honestly, historically so for a freshman, and is looking almost the part of a generational talent, if you want to go that far. But yeah, Juju's cooking, didn't really cook against Oregon State, but they got the win, and that's what's important. I cannot wait. All right, March is going to be very fun in the women's game. There's a lot of great players, and I think could be very chaotic and very heartbreaking for some, but also we could see some superstars emerge. Entertainment. All right, ladies and gentlemen, entertainment. I finished Ted Lasso. That show was worth all of the hype. All right, it was worth all of the hype. I don't even know why they didn't do a season 4, so we could have seen the Champions League. I still feel like there was some story to tell, even though I get it with Ted missing his family, so he went back. But man, all right, and of course Roy gets to be, and I get it. All right, it was a good ending, but man, it still felt like there was still good parts of the story to tell. I feel like one more season would have been the perfect cap off. I feel like 3 just kind of leaves you wanting more, which may have been the desired effect, but it wasn't exactly fulfilling. I think they had one more in them. I think one more would have been perfect. But still, nonetheless, Ted Lasso is a phenomenal show. Highly recommend. I absolutely believe the hype after watching it. Very, very funny. Sudeikis did a great job. Just everybody on that. Hannah, Phil, everybody. It was just a phenomenal show. Loved it, especially if you're a soccer fan. And you want something kind of lighter, maybe if you need like a little bit of a palate cleanser, as we say. It's a great option. So yeah, shout out to Ted Lasso. Great show. I finally watched the first episode of Mr. and Mrs. Smith after asking my friends. One who hasn't seen it yet, but she was like, go for it. And of course, Kobe, if you're watching this, you gave me the green light. So I watched the first episode. I actually thought it was solid. And you know what? I can almost live with it, not necessarily being in the vein of the OG. I don't know if anything can replace the OG, and I don't think it's trying to replace the OG, but I think it can work in its own volume. I liked how that first episode went. I don't want to spoil anything, but I think, Maya and, Dom have solid chemistry. I think we can go somewhere with it. So I'm locked in. We'll see. I'll talk more about it as we go on in the weeks as I, maybe even next week if I finish it all this week. It's only 8 episodes. So 2093. Yeat. Not in a Jay Uso or, mid-2010s Yeat, but the artist Yeat. For a long time, I'm not like a big, I'll get to it like in a party situation, as many of my friends know, but I'm not like a big like rage music person, you know what I mean? I've never, I feel like it's just kind of great production on some of it, but just some of it I'm just like, all right, y'all just saying whatever. It's not really any talent going into this. Anybody can do this, I don't really care, all right? And it's not really, it's kind of old after you hear it a couple times. So for a long time, I wasn't like a complete Yeat fan, but slowly but surely he has worn me down. And now I'm here at 2093, and I'm about to give this album an 8.8 because I get it now. I get it. Honestly, I get it. Okay, Never Quit, which came off of P2. He also dropped a track with Drake. I think As You Speak. I think that's the name of it. Probably wrong, actually. But yeah. Dropped that the day after he dropped the album. But yeah, Never Quit and Breathe were my two standout songs. But at 8.8, the production on this was crazy. It wasn't even like Benny X, like heavy. It was a variety of producers, and they did a phenomenal job. This was one of the best produced albums of the year. I'm going to say that. Even though it's February 19th, I'm going to go on record right now and tell you that this will be one of the best produced albums, top to bottom, of the year. Impeccable job. It really does. Even though you see the jokes on Twitter about, people posting like the wolf like sitting down, or people posting pics of like Batman and Gotham. But honestly, this was like, it actually was like, in terms of atmosphere, really made you feel like you were, you were in Gotham. It was Gotham City music, like late night Gotham City. I need to save the city. If you know, you know what I mean? Fellas, ladies, y'all might not understand this, but fellas, you get it. You get it. You know what I mean. You have that feeling. We got to go save the city. This is that type of music. And even in a way, this is villain music. So yeah, 2093, very good album. I'm not gonna put in an album of the year. Some of y'all might do that, but yeah, I get it now. I understand the Yeat hype. Yeah, that was good. Very very good album. Very much so enjoyed it. A lot of good stuff on that. So yeah, shout out to Yeat. He's developed very nicely, by the way. Even as like a rapper, purely. Besides just the production and him using his voice as an instrument, as we used to call it for Thug, he's done a great job improving and getting a better ear for beat. Like, he's done a great job. So yeah, shout out to Yeat, the boy from Seattle. Bryson Tiller, the boy from Louisville, from the Ville, as Harlow would say. Whatever she wants. Saw a lot of people saying this is not him, which y'all are clearly not Bryson Tiller. Y'all don't really listen to Bryson Tiller. Y'all heard Don't in Exchange 8 years ago, and y'all think y'all know who Bryson Tiller is. Because this is very much so in the vein of Tiller. Sure, he had a ski mask, and you're used to seeing him in the R&B, the R&B bag, but this is very much so Tiller. All right, and this was a great track. One of my favorite songs of the year so far. Whatever She Wants, super fire. Shout out to Young Tiller, Pin Griffey. He was in his bag. Like I said, it was dope. All right, it was a dope project. Shout out to the boy, B Tiller. Go check it out. That's a double. All right, that's a double. 2093 and Whatever She Wants. All right, go listen. They didn't pay me to say that, but go listen anyway. The National Basketball Association. All right, man. They get the main event. Welcome back, basketball, by the way. Welcome back, NBA. All-Star Weekend, main event. I said the Cowboys got to win because Micah Parsons won MVP for the celebrity game. Listen, we gotta. At this point, it's almost like, you remember how Kevin Hart was him in the Celebrity All-Star Game. He won four MVPs. Right now, that's NFL players. All right, all of these NFL players, these freak athletes in the NFL, are just coming over to the celebrity game and just having, all-time games. All right, Mike had 37, 16, and 4. Of course he won MVP. Nobody could stop him. He looked like prime LeBron. Same thing with DK last year, and what was that, Myles Garrett the year before? Hell, Puka was in this game. He was going off. All right, if there's an NFL player, for all you degenerate gamblers, if there's an NFL player who is a freak athlete, which is most of them, obviously, in the celebrity game, put money on them winning the MVP. Because nobody else is taking it right now. They just dominating. Kai Cenat was also in this game, but Kai didn't have too good of a time. Which is truly heartbreaking, because I'm going to be completely honest with you. If Ruby Rose posted a video asking me to drop 30 plus for her, or just drop 30, I'm putting up, Wilt Chamberlain in the early 1960s numbers. All right, nobody can stop me. Even if coach is benching me, nobody can stop me. If I have to take 100 shots to get 100 points, nobody is stopping me. Nobody. Nobody is stopping me from getting that 30, and really more than 30. All right. If Ruby Rose commanded that of me, it would have been done. Me personally, that's what would have happened. But Kai couldn't get it done. Unfortunately for him, he did get, another Streamer of the Year award. So not a bad week for Kai. But yeah, celebrity game didn't really go his way. NFL is still up on that. All-Star Saturday, I guess that's what we're calling it. Dame and Mac go back to back. Pretty much self-explanatory. Dame, everybody hit 26. It was kind of uncanny, which we're going to talk about the 26 number, by the way, when we get to something else that happened next. But yeah, Dame, he wins back-to-back. He had a great All-Star weekend. We'll talk about the All-Star game. But yeah, Dame had a great weekend. Mac McClung, once again, is promoted from the G League to try to salvage what is left of the dunk contest. And he gave a hell of an attempt. I don't know how the hell you do a jumping over, not even like a pushover, jumped over another human being, drops the ball, picks it back up, reverse, and it's not a 50. I don't really understand how that wasn't a 50, but he still won, so I guess that counts. Jaylen Brown, nice to see stars. However, I don't really know how you advanced after jumping over a 5'3" man in a chair with a normal just one-hand dunk on your second attempt. I don't know how that was, advance worthy. But thank you for coming to the All-Star game anyway, JB. We'll talk about what you actually did in the actual All-Star game. But yeah, Mac and Dame do what they had to do. Of course, the headline event of All-Star Saturday is not the dunk contest anymore. It was Steph versus Sab, right? Sabrina Ionescu, the other woman who, for a period of time, captured a little bit of the world's imagination in college basketball with her triple-double prowess and also her shooting, very similar to Caitlin Clark in a way. She took on Steph Curry. All right, and Sab said, listen, y'all going to pay me my respect. I don't want no excuses. All right, I'm shooting from the men's three-point line, which is well in her range, as we found out. As she tied, the only difference, by the way, was she had the WNBA ball, which, okay, fine, don't really care. That's fine. All right, biological differences, sure, cool. She hit 26, which honestly, I mean, all due respect, she might have won the men's three-point contest. If we'd have put Sabrina in the men's, she might have won, all right? Because the only reason she lost this after tying Dame's high score in the three-point contest, because, of course, she was placing, the greatest shooter of all time, Steph Curry, who hit 28 to win. Honestly, that was a very good event. Sabrina deserved her apt respect that she got after that from everybody except Kenny the Jet Smith, who had lost his mind and was on a misogynistic tirade for whatever reason. I don't know if he was hammered or what it was, but Kenny lost his damn mind on Saturday and was on one. I don't know why he was acting like that, but it was very disappointing, and that is all I will really say about Kenny, because he doesn't really deserve much more attention after that. He's in the Jay Williams foxhole of trash this week. The All-Star game was also trash for a lot of people, even though I'm kind of used to the All-Star game at this point. The East dominate because, of course, they did. Even though the West on paper has a better roster, the East has all the young players and therefore has all of the tryhards and the people that might actually give a crap about this game. And they win with a high score in the history of the All-Star game of 211 to 186. All right. Carl Anthony Towns had 50 and lost, which is pretty accurate for, Cat. All right. Classic stuff from him. Game 1 MVP and caps off a great All-Star week in Indianapolis for him. He had 39. Halliburton, by the way, him and the Pacers won the skills challenge. That was not a fun time for the number 1 overall picks and for everybody else, but the Pacers looked very good. Holly was kind of dominating that. He also had a really good game in the All-Star game. He had 32. Jaylen Brown redeemed himself from the dunk contest. He had 36. Shai had 31 on the West side, so somebody else did something with a post besides Cat. Joker and Luka were just in love the entire weekend and honestly could not have given less about this entire game. And yeah, people are like, how do we save this game? And honestly, you have to put like a monetary incentive or do something like they used to do for, I think, what was it? I don't think it was the Pro Bowl. I think it may have been the MLB All-Star game where it was like, or it still might be for the MLB All-Star game where the winner gets home court advantage in the finals. I think something like that might make it a little bit more competitive. But otherwise, this is what it's going to be. Nobody's trying to get hurt. And like I said, it's a glorified exhibition. So people are just going to try to have fun and chill and have fun with their friends on different teams. That's it. All right, that's it. I know everybody's up in arms. Stephen A is over here having an aneurysm about how, how can they not compete? Adam Silver was disgusted. Stephen A also was disgusted about the fact that LeBron did not do the dunk contest, which I want to rest this, case now because I'm tired of hearing about it. Bron is not a dunk contest dunker. I don't know if y'all did not watch. Sure, he did the McDonald's All-American. If we being honest, and I'm a big Bron fan, that's my guy, favorite player of all time, he should have won that. All right, he won because he was LeBron, and he was a generational talent, and they wanted to give him the trophy. He didn't even have that great of dunks there. Sure, LeBron is a great dunker. He's a great in-game dunker. All right, he was a fantastic athlete. He is not one of those. There's a difference between guys that are, dunk contest dunkers and in-game great dunkers. Some of the best dunkers are a combo of the two. Vince Carter, Zach LaVine, Aaron Gordon, MJ, Dominic Wilkins. A mixture of the two. Bron's a good in-game dunker, but he was never built for a dunk contest. Like, his is like the athletic feat of doing it in-game and what he can do in terms of dunking there and playing above the rim there. I don't know if he'd have really done too crazy or done too well in a dunk contest, so I think he made the right decision to never do it. Stephen A is acting like he killed the dunk contest because he never did it, but he wouldn't have done well anyway, so I don't know if that would have really saved it in the first place. But yeah, NBA All-Star Weekend, of course, pretty much part of the usual. Dunk contest was mid, but Mac was good. 3-point contest stole the show, and the All-Star game scored a bunch of points, and people are acting like it's going to die, which you'll all be watching next year anyway. All right, ladies and gentlemen, with that said, we have reached the Roundup. And I'm going to be honest, the Roundup, for all intents and purposes, is just the soccer segment under a different name because I need stuff for the Roundup this weekend. I'm going to be completely honest with you. Starting off in the Premier League, Højlund is that guy. He's hot. The boy is hot. He stayed hot against Luton. He has a brace in the first 10 minutes of the game. I was watching that live. It was a wonderful thing to see. Him and Garnacho were cooking, and then all of a sudden, Garnacho forgot how to play football for whatever reason. I don't know how he messed up that end around on the keeper. Like, even when he lost possession, just have a go. He shoots that ball, it's still going in. I don't think the defender gets to it. But yeah, Garnacho forgot how to play football, but it didn't matter because Højlund is, in fact, him. That Champions League is now over in the Premier League, and I don't know why everybody thought that the 20-year-old striker in the Premier League making an adjustment couldn't handle the game all of a sudden. It was a flop after a couple months. So let's stop doing that. All right, anyways, Højlund, he's up. All right, the boy is up. Mbappe cannot be stopped. All right, Kylian Mbappe is the best player in the world. We've been saying this for, honestly, the past 2 to 3 years. And it's going to continue saying this. Kylian Mbappe is the best player in the world. He has looked every bit of the best player in the world for the past, 2 months. He is dominating, to be honest. Liga 1, Champions League, whatever it was. They won this week, by the way, in the UCL. Barcola also got the other goal. PSG looking very, very good. Even though Mbappe apparently is headed off to Real Madrid. Looks like he might end his last season in Paris with a bang. Man City takes care of business against Copenhagen. Haaland didn't score. He's still looking like the machine is still looking like he's starting to try to get running again, get his feet back under him. But the rest of the team, that is still very much so stacked. And of course, they still have Pep as their manager. They're just fine. They take care of Copenhagen to get the win in the UCL. Real Madrid won. It wasn't pretty. No Jude, by the way. Still no Jude. They drew on the weekend. They're kind of feeling the effects of that, even though, still have some stars, but they're definitely feeling the effects of some of the injuries and even card issues, right? Carvajal and Camavinga just got, red carded on the weekend, or what's the equivalent of a red card, so they have to miss the next La Liga game. So Real Madrid, we'll see if they can stay afloat, but it seems like the wares of the season are starting to catch up to the greatest club in the world, as they call themselves. So yeah, we'll see what happens with Real Madrid. Lazio beat Bayern. Cyril Immobile got the pin. They beat him in the UCL. And then they lost to Bochum on the weekend. Thomas Tuchel's seat is molten. I don't know who has a hotter seat right now. Andy Enfield at USC or Thomas Tuchel at Bayern Munich. I mean, it's pretty even right now. Because Tuchel has now lost the locker room, apparently. And now they can't win games that they should win. It's not looking good at Bayern. All right, I don't know if it's the Harry Kane curse. Maybe Harry is just cursed to never win a trophy because now he's at Bayern Munich, who have actually treated the Bundesliga like a farmers league. Not in the way we joke about Liga 1 and PSG, which actually is not really farmers league if you look at who's won the title. PSG doesn't really win it that dominantly. But the Bundesliga, Bayern's won the last 11. And they might not win this year because Tuchel has just lost his head and Kane is cursed. All right, I don't know what is going on in Bayern, but they need to get it fixed and soon. Or not, because you know what? The Bundesliga needs variety, and Bayern's downfall would be much appreciated by a lot of people. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, Tuchel, scorching hot seat, hotter than the Human Torch. Shout out to Joseph Quinn. And the rest of the cast, the Fantastic Four that got released this weekend. So congratulations to them. Daytona got postponed, so no racing this week. It was supposed to come back this week, but no racing this week because it's going to be on by the time that you were watching this. Daytona will be going on. So yeah, you can tell me who wins. Should be very interesting. Daytona 500 is always one of the best, not just because it's the race, but objectively I think it's one of the best races to watch. Because of the super speedway racing has always been some of my favorite. So yeah, hopefully I get to go one day. But Daytona tonight. We will see what happens. But yeah, NASCAR is back. Soccer's back. Football is gone, but I'm still happy. Thank you for watching episode 185. I hope you guys have a great week as we continue with the best month of the year. Ocho signing off.